Instead, they go to Pun, who has traditionally been known as somebody who's able to stall the lane incredibly well. That's what he was able to do inside of Winter Split, which is what made us give him the title of #1 top laner over top of Kiayo, and maybe that was not exactly the best of decisions, but that's how impressive that he looked at being able to stall at the top lane. So they say, okay, maybe we can use that tool against Kiayo once again, and maybe that's the same tool that they plan to employ against Hero here. They draft him something that should be self-sufficient with the Renekton. It's not a terrible matchup that he found himself in, despite giving counter over to Team Secret. Maybe Pun actually has some bearing in this game to be able to kind of stall things out on top side and prevent Hero, who's been a very massive contributor to the series, from really kind of taking things over.
Well, we are onto the game, onto the Rift after a slight delay to start things off. You can almost feel the tension. Because for Cerberus, let's not forget, it's not just the fact that they are down 2-0 in the series right now. It's also the fact that they are our current VCS champions. And it has been a fall from grace for them. It's been a fall from grace for quite a few of our winter teams. The likes of Luxury and Burst the Sky, who were in playoffs, who finished 3rd and 4th at the end of playoffs. Didn't make playoffs this split, and it feels like the VCS is maybe switching back to the VCS that we knew from before, back in spring 2021.
Yeah, the more and more that we are removed from winter 2021, it feels like more and more of a pipe dream, an enigma, whatever you want to call it, over the course of the action, because of just how strange that the results seem to be in the modern era, which is at least something to consider. Level 2, actually, really quick from Team Secret, want to take an action into Artemis in this. I'll actually talk about this because this was really cool. I like that they subbed in Ron OP. Still curious why they decided to go to Enchanter. I think I just covered that sufficiently. But the fact that another Enchanter gets responded with, the Lulu coming in, I think is really good for Zuhao, who has shown a lot more propensity and development after being a jungler for most of the career on Cerberus. Something we haven't really talked about is that he's the ex-jungler for Cerberus as bottom lane.
Zuhao ignited, and Artemis forced to flash away so that the final rocket from Eddie would not secure first blood. But it's good to see both bottom laners playing with fire, and we're not seeing Cerberus playing overly defensive in such a tricky scenario, but now the engage towards the top side. Oh, that Sonic Wave here. I thought for a second Penguin was going to go.
I thought there was a chance that if he trades 1 for 1, that absolutely works out in their favor. The problem is this bottom lane is in rough straits. Oh no, Ronop's going to have to flash. This is like the 3rd game in a row that Eddie and Zuhao have just kind of taken over the laning phase. I know they drafted for it here because, again, the Lulu is incredibly powerful at the beginning of the game to work with. If they better not get baited in here. Fook1's here for the punishment.
But Eddie will just bring this wave under his tower. Good luck diving Eddie right now. And yes, we've seen Artemis and Ron OP playing this aggressively. Fook1, he knows he wants to go for the play. Penguin will land the Sonic Wave. Now looking towards Fook1. Eddie could make his way up, but it would be a 3v2, and even if Eddie had the health advantage, it'd still be incredibly risky to coin flip first blood.
This is the opening potentially for Artemis to take a quick back, go for a Cole, and then sit in this laning phase and try not to die, which is kind of something they haven't been able to accomplish so far in the series. But Fook1 has already kind of stayed around the bottom side a bit more, put a bit more kind of coverage in that area. So maybe this is the intention, is that this is once again another Artemis game, but this time they're playing to him a lot earlier for the coverage to make sure that the Zeri gets out of the laning phase more effectively. And how much more could you really put into it, right? You're putting jungle pressure in, you're giving him a pocket Zillion ultimate. The only thing they could have done even further is to literally draft Zillion in the mid lane for Yato and just have him have the ability to have 2 revives in his back pocket without building Guardian Angel, to just say, Artemis, you gotta carry us. Like, there is no other play to be had. We need somebody to stand up, and they're putting faith, I guess, in their ADC to be able to do so, because like Yolwei had said on the desk as well, this isn't exactly a champion that Artemis has played to a bunch of avail in this split. This is like the 2nd game on it, didn't do great in the 1st game. Maybe it's something that's gone better in practice than what we've seen, but obviously something that they haven't played all that much.
But if you are Cerberus and you are in this situation that they find themselves in, being 2 down in a best-of-5 series, and you have to put your faith in someone, you're looking to the likes of Artemis and Yato. These are the players who played so well for them in the winter split. These are the players that led them to taking their first ever VCS title, and you wouldn't want to put your faith in anyone else.
I think I could agree with that sentiment. Actually, top lane, a little bit of shenanigans. Pun dancing around them.
He's dancing around, but is it enough? Welcome to the playoffs, say Team Secret. And Pun says, yeah, it's actually quite nice over here. I'm not going to die just yet.
It is a Pun V9 angle, man. He's able to sneak out. He's able to use this Renekton, and that's second gank now to the top side that's been denied here from Pun. That's early resource that Penguin has put on the map. In the previous 2 games, has had a large amount of impact across all things, but this game, it just hasn't been happening. They haven't been able to get Hero out of the kind of trudge of a laning phase that is this top side. And that also means that Fook1's been farming up. You can see the Diffie and the Jiffy in terms of the CS score right now. They're going to double down on the top side pressure. They're going to shut out Pun a little bit. But this is, again, Pun's kind of MO is taking a lower econ, taking a lower resource in a game, and still having a pretty solid effect. And if it means that Yato gets better plays, bottom lane gets better plays, then maybe we're in a good place.
Let's be honest, the Pun angle is just to pick Renekton. There's a cleanse dropping down. Surely Artemis is going to fall. The bailout will buy some time, but not enough. Eddie picks up first blood for Team Secret. Rono P on the run, and Zuhao will make it too. Fook1 makes his way towards the bottom side, trying to get onto Eddie. Time, but not enough. Fook1 will pick 1 kill back up. Now looking for Zuhao. Oh, the surge. The Shadow Surge not quite in range of Zuhao for Yato to dive in.
Really tragic. Again, how many times in this series have we seen this bottom lane just get lost by Artemis and whoever his support has been? It's been, Huber for the majority of this laning phase. And now we're back to top side. We see more pressure being applied there by Penguin. This time, I don't think Pun's got an easy way out.
It's the 3rd gank in the top lane in the 3rd game of the series, and this time Pun will fall.
See, we've put so much into a number of players on Team Secret, right? The heroes of this series, like we've been establishing as being early game, we've established as being like top side of the map, because Hero's been great, Artifact has been great. The fact that Eddie and Zuhao have been stomping out Artemis in the laning phase, just in the pure 2v2, to me makes them the best players inside of this series. Taking the MVP from the previous split, taking what is supposed to be the best ADC of the split, and not just removing him from the game in the earlier phases, but actually generating advantage against him is something we never would have expected of this series. Of all the things and all the ways that Team Secret can win a game like this, the last thing I think we could have actually anticipated was Artemis getting beaten down this hard in the laning phase consistently. Eddie and Zu have been able to do it. Here, getting punished underneath the mid tower, unfortunately.
Thanks for that cast the curse, Rebel. That's exactly what Eddie needed right there. Okay, but Cerberus do pick up the kill, and you mentioned about being able to beat Artemis, and back when we were in the winter split just a couple of months ago, this was a test for any bottom lane that we came across, was if you're a good bottom lane, how well do you do against Artemis and Rono P? And sure, Eddie and Zuhao, this is their first game against Artemis and Rono P, because it had been Huber until now. But the Rift Herald has been started up. The focus from Cerberus, and down goes Penguin. Instantly, Cerberus are looking to party here in Game 3. The fear on to Zuhao will force him away, but this time, Cerberus will get the Rift Herald. The first time in this series, they pick up that opening Rift Herald.
I am a bit lost about what the anticipation was here from Team Secret, because they were still a ways out from getting Eddie back after the pick in the mid lane, and all 5 members from Cerberus did show. I think 4 members in the river and 1 member in mid lane after everything was kind of taken into account. So why exactly is Team Secret walking into the river with multiple melee champions attempting to like 50-50 the Rift Herald this early? This is a rare kind of boneheaded mistake coming out from the side of Team Secret, right? This is something where like you smack your head and you go, why did we do that in the first place? This is something that Team Secret prides themselves on not doing, as opposed to most other VCS teams who have done it at least a handful of times over the course of the split. This is the one thing that we actually pride Team Secret on, and here we are, making this mistake very early in the game. They still hold the advantage, especially now, because they're getting 2 plates onto the Jinx in return for that Rift Herald, which that's a lot of gold actually going into Eddie's back pocket, but still, I don't know. Like that's the first real, true, I think, full-on mistake that Team Secret has made in terms of decision-making in this series.
Now, we talked about putting your faith as Cerberus into the old stalwarts of Yato and Artemis. We talked about bringing back in Pun and Rono P onto the roster. But let's talk about Fook1. He's 3-0. And for Fook1, this is effectively his rookie full split for Cerberus, and it hasn't been good. Let's not lie about that. It's not been a good split so far, but he has so many resources on him now. He's so strong. He has to be able to step up.
Yeah, it's a situation where now they have to put a bunch of faith in their young jungler to be able to actually carry out a game like this, because you've got the Hecarim, you've got a big team fighter, you've got a lot of dive potential, you got a lot of influence across the map in this earlier stage of the game. It's the first time, really, that Penguin hasn't been completely running the jungle position, which is good to see that finally they've been able to establish that to some extent. honestly, the composition once again kind of revolves around Artemis being able to get gold. I kind of want to see Fuq1 put some more resource into bottom lane, shutting out Eddie and making sure that the bottom lane is going better in your favor. Otherwise, you do run into problems further. But again, like you said, Fuq1 now going to have to show us what he's made of, because this is a situation where their back's up against the wall, and he's the one with all the gold right now to be able to change the fate of of Cerberus, my apologies, inside of the series.
You know what they like to say? Pressure makes diamonds, or diamonds are made under pressure. I mean, you like your physics. You could go also with stress makes diamonds as well.
I suppose. You have to imagine that Fuq1's under a little bit of stress in a series like this one, especially with how much Penguin has been able to put onto him in this one. But you can see winning situation.
Oh, the Shadow Surge! And Penguin thought he had Artifact to help him out. Artifact will flash forward. The auto's not enough, and the Death Rocket goes wide. Artifact will get run down by Yado, and it's a double kill for the Vex.
Very, very well played out of the mid-jungle position, and this is the first gold advantage that Cerberus has had for the entirety of the series. This is the first time that we're seeing this come through. Hero, in a position where he thought he was going to be able to actually make something happen, he's going to try to play into Fuq. It's not going to be enough.
The Knight ticks down, and it is a shutdown for Hero, and the gold is even. Okay, it's slightly in favor of Cerberus, but it is practically even. And our analyst desk asked for a close game. They wanted one close game, and we are getting it now.
Oh, actually TP to top lane now, Artifact. Oh, okay, not quite able to actually catch out Pun before he's able to slink away on the Renekton pick. This is, again, another kind of mistake. Penguin coming into the jungle trying to play up against Fuq1. He goes for the red buff steal. He's able to sneak out, but the Shadow Surge had hit him before he was able to get through, and so the double dive gets him on top of that. Artifact also came remarkably close to killing off Fuq1. I thought that was going to do it, but unfortunately the red buff stopped ticking right there, and that meant that the play was completely over. Hero at least got the one trade kill, which was nice. I thought they were going to be able to trade back onto Hero, and that was going to end up being a 3-for-1 where Yado picked up 3 full kills, and that is disastrous because, again, he's a very talented Vex player. It hasn't showed up all that much this split, but in Winter, he was the first one that really acclimated to it, and so this is a game where, especially since Artemis isn't really at this massive gold advantage, that Yado might have been able to actually start taking over.
The Dominus dropped in the top lane. That will buy time for Fuq1 to show up. Now a 2v1 Hero with nowhere to go. The hookshot will take him under his tower and to safety, but Cerberus want to go in. Oh, the adaptive defenses! It's game 1 all over again. Pun will be able to survive, but Hero will not. No Ignite available for Hero as Zuhao gets the kill onto Ron OP in the bottom lane. Now there's a Realm Orb coming through, but it doesn't take Artifact over the Gromp wall. Penguin might still want more, but Artemis is able to hide behind his minion wave.
So now we have so much more interesting of a game, because in previous iterations of this, we had the same bottom side setup coming through, right? We had the bottom lane losing from Cerberus consistently to Eddie and Zuhao, but the problem was the rest of the map was also losing. Right, like you had not only the jungle position kind of getting run through, being down in CS, being down in pressure, but both solo lanes were going well as well for the side of Team Secret, and so there were 5 losing positions. All of a sudden, Pun is doing well at being able to deny some gold, has a bit in the back pocket. Fuq1 is doing great in the jungle. Yado is popping off in this game, has a lot more range to work with than the Rise. He's able to roam a lot more, which means Cerberus is competitive for the first time. Artemis has time to be able to scale up into this game to get some gold into the Zeri and become this menace of team fighting, because Cerberus hasn't fallen completely to pieces yet. They've got a lot of dive potential with Fuq1 and Yado, put pressure onto Eddie as well. So having this gold on Eddie, while valuable and with a Lulu in the back pocket, still hard to kill, but not impossible for Cerberus to be able to work around.
And I want to rewind time and think back to what the analyst desk brought up actually before game 1, which was how Team Secret like to play. And they were bringing up the fact that Secret are very good with a 1-3-1 composition. The fact that Cerberus have been lacking in team fights. You look at Team Secret's composition, and guess what? They can pull off a pretty nice 1-3-1. But we've got an engage in the mid lane. Eddie will flash away, and they look to turn things back around. But the Sonic Wave doesn't land, and Team Secret will just back off. But now they can step forward again and maybe just try to throw down some more rockets.
Eddie, well played right there, just to play extremely defensively around the fact that Fuq1 came running in at complete light speed, tried to catch him up on the traps, tried to cleanse out, had to burn the flash eventually. And the play afterwards would have actually been very good for Team Secret, but Zuhao was able to kind of, or my apologies, not Zuhao, Ron OP on the Renato was able to kind of deny a little bit of that with the handshake coming through and preventing any kind of engagement. What is going on here?
Well, there are deaths everywhere. Now a hookshot coming through from Hero. He wants to get a raid for the tactical sweep. Pun will be able to survive, and overall it is Cerberus getting the kill. Now, I know you're looking at that gold lead, Rebel, and you're seeing that Cerberus have a lead, but at 15 minutes on the dot, it was Team Secret who had, I think it was about a 200 goal lead, and yes, I know we brought it in as a joke, but I think it's quite a fun stat, the fact that Team Secret have never lost when they are ahead in gold at 15.
We'll see if they're able to hold that one, because this is perhaps the biggest contest to that, because again, Cerberus now has the gold advantage. Hero is going to turn this back on its head, because this tower is going to be quite a bit. And they haven't really shut out Camille, which is one thing to talk about, is that Hero, despite not having to like capitalize on 2-3 kill opportunities, haven't been through. Oh, it's just back timing. Oh, no. Oh, it feels bad. Okay. I understand now what happened in the mid lane. And then Hero, again, the Ignite, also barely not killing Pun, who was able to sneak away again with an E. With an E to be able to get away from that situation. But again, Pun has been driven off the wave. Pun has almost died like 3 times in the top lane. This does have ramifications on the lane. This does mean Camille is still in a fantastic place to kind of run things. And when you think about, okay, you want to lock down Artemis, you want to lock down Yato, you've got ways to do so with Hero in the right circumstances, where he is in a decent place to side lane or to team fight on this Camille pick.
And we talked about Cerberus putting their faith in old stalwarts, and we brought up the idea of Fuke1 having a lot of resources since he's now 4-1. But let's not forget, Yato, 2-0-3 on the Vex. We know how big Shadow Surges can be, but at the same time, Vex is a bit of a coin flip champion in that sense. You land those Shadow Surges, you get into the backline of Team Secret. It's huge. It's now Fuke1 looking to dive in. He gets a 3-man ult down. Penguin's going to be the focus, but Fuke1 just getting run down himself. The teleport comes through. The wild growth will keep Hero alive. Eventually, the horse will fall, but now Artifact here in the play as well. Flash away from Yato will keep him alive as Super Mega Death Rocket drops down. And overall, it is a 1-for-1 at top lane for Jungler, and it's an even fight.
Situation where right there, it seemed like Team Secret wanted to take more of an engagement than what they had at the end of that one. Because of the ultimate coming through from Artemis, that was a problem. Now, Eddie can deliver Yato way to the back if they want this, but they don't look like they do.
Well, Penguin fishing. He lands a Sonic Wave onto Artemis. Does he want to go in? He's got no Dragon's Rage, so that might be a little bit too aggressive. 6 kills to 8, and it is Cerberus who, well, are just narrowly behind in gold. But here's something that we should bring up. This game, Cerberus has been able to get a lot of objective control. They've been able to pick up Drakes, they've been able to pick up a Rift Herald, and if they get one more Drake, they are onto Soul Point.
And not to the avail of their gold advantage, because this was the sacrifice in game number 1. They went up 2 dragons very early, but they dropped a 6k gold advantage, and it meant that Team Secret were able to just team fight them into oblivion. This is not the case. You saw right there. Despite Team Secret actually having solid posturing, solid positioning for a team fight, they couldn't work their way through. This was a dive potential from Fuke1, played perfectly, if I might add, by Penguin to be able to kick him into the wall, get a bunch of burst damage, drive him off to the side. The W is the only thing that kept Fuke1 alive forever. I also wasn't a big fan of the Renata ultimate coming through, the CC that actually lined up everything. But look at where they're at inside of a fight like this. Artemis powers up with the ultimate, and all of a sudden, like, he's taking over the fight. He's got too much range, too much through damage, and nobody on Team Secret can sit there and kind of stand against him. They had to find a way to burst out, Artemis in a fight, be able to put somebody on top of him, because Hero wasn't able to do it, and Penguin was too concerned with Fuke1 in that fight to be able to do that, and Eddie isn't quite powerful enough to be able to do it as an own yet.
The Shadow Surge doesn't land. A flash handshake onto Zuhao, and a Renata ult burnt as well, all for absolutely nothing. Okay, sure, they got the Lulu flash, but that is all. Team Secret just looking to play with this 1-3-1 right now.
Yes, being able to capture resources in every single lane is a benefit here from the Rise and the Camille being able to side lane effectively. But you have the problem of their fishing consistently to try to find Eddie again and again, and be able to find Zuhao again and again. Haven't been able to actually kind of full capsule, utilize this to the best of their abilities. A teleport on a mid tower feels like that's going to go to waste.
Oh, Pun gets in time, but the hookshot comes through. Hextech Ultimatum dropped down, but down goes Hero. Look how low the members of Cerberus are. There's no reset for the Jinx. Eddie throwing out more rockets. Artemis down to half health, and it is Cerberus who get a kill for nothing. But when you look at the health bars overall, it feels like Team Secret won the fight.
Team Secret dropped 2 members completely low. If there was enough mana bar on Eddie, or if they had a clear angle on it, it feels like the Super Mega Death Rocket could have won that fight, to the point where, like, I feel like a Super Mega Death Rocket or a single kill would have led to an additional auto or 2 onto Artemis, and that would have prompted Penguin to go in and find a kick, and that would have eliminated Artemis from the fight, almost certainly leading to a second tower going down as well. But unfortunately, Team Secret, I don't think they're able to find it. Eddie, instead of being able to actually make that happen, it ran out of mana, ran out of the ability to kill somebody. You can see they put the blue buff on him, which I think is the correct choice, while Rise usually takes that one. The rockets having to be rained down for the additional range and AoE inside of fights have actually left Eddie pretty scrapped for resources when it comes to like the back half of a fight, where like Artemis begins to take over with the ultimate. And so that means that the position that Eddie's been in is that the rockets need to come out, but he doesn't have the mana for them. So hopefully this does help that around this dragon, which it looks like Team Secret once again want to fight.
Yeah, teleporting into the mid lane. We're going to have a 5v5 fight over the Drake, and it would be a Drake that would take Cerberus to Soul Point. Artemis flashing forward. He gets the CC down onto Ron OP. Hero's incredibly low. Goes golden as the electrical shot comes through. Artemis is on the run, but the damage just isn't there. And Team Secret are going to get 2 kills. They're looking for Artemis, but Artemis will flash out to safety. And it is Secret who get 2 for nothing. And surely Cerberus won't be able to contest this Drake.
This has got to be one of my favorite positions that Team Cerberus is at, or my apologies, Team Secret has actually taken in this one. Because if you looked at the timers on the ultimates, right before the takeover of the Renekton ultimate, right before the takeover of the Hecarim ultimate, they went for the full-on engagement. They went for the flash-in with Artifact, with the Everfrost, and unexpectedly took a fight before Cerberus were able to get their bearings back. They wait and fight in the river. There's more ultimates. There's more tools for the frontliners of Cerberus. You can see ultimate's not quite ready. They jump in immediately. The ultimate from Ron-OP actually wasn't bad to try to stall things out. I think it could have been a lot worse if that ultimate weren't used properly. But you can see also the reset angle. As soon as the Hecarim went down, Artemis was one auto attack from dying right there. Eddie thankfully catching out that the Everfrost would have stuck him under the tower, likely meant that the dragon doesn't go over to Team Secret. But you could see the team fighting. That right there was a fantastic tracking of cooldowns coming out from Secret that led to them being able to take that advantage, taking back a little bit of the gold lead in the game, being able to slow down the dragon stacking and showing that they can team fight very effectively.
The dragon stacking has been slowed, and Artifact has been able to complete his mana item, or the tier item, I should say. The Fimbulwinter being completed. Right now, Secret are in the lead when you look at gold, but the game is dead even, right? This game is not Secret's to lose, it's not Cerberus's to lose.
It feels like you're in a position as Team Secret where your team fighting is superior, but you're not in a significant enough gold advantage to really take advantage of that fact by leveraging it into fights again and again. Cerberus are in a position where like they have ways to win 5-on-5 fights, so they're not adverse to taking 5-on-5s, but they haven't been able to find a way to make it actually like come together in one really winning situation. Now, they are very close. As soon as Artemis breaks the next item point, I think they can make very aggressive plays and let Artemis begin to fight a front to back, basically of his own volition. And at that point, I like things start to get a lot more crazy because again, it's about being able to contest Artemis's position in a fight for Team Secret, as opposed to what it has been before, where like the positioning of Eddie has been tested by divers and he's had to be defensive. They've had to play around him quite a bit. But there's a position here where like Artemis will eventually really take an event the aggressive positioning, begin to actually play on a very forward foot. And at that point, Cerberus's team fight looks a lot different than I think it does right now. Not quite at that point, but like you said, we're pretty much dead even in gold. Nobody has a really definitive advantage at this game. Feels like first Baron is really going to be that real tipping point. Like that is going to be the point where one of these teams takes an advantage, because both these teams clearly want to take 5-on-5s. So that's a lot of gold that will be shifted if you end up winning a 5-on-5 around the Baron and take that Baron buff for yourself.
Yeah, and I brought up the idea at the start of the game when we saw all of the skirmishing in the bottom lane that this doesn't feel like a Cerberus who are at match point. It doesn't feel like a Cerberus that are scared to play, that feel like their lives are on the line. This feels like a revitalized, re-energized Cerberus that are ready to fight toe-to-toe with Team Secret. It feels like a game 1 of the series.
I agree 100% that this has a more of a feeling like a game 1. Not in a position where like Cerberus feels desperate that they have to fight against everything, that they give nothing up. It feels like they're more willing to take risks. It feels like they're more willing to challenge positions against Team Secret. This is how I feel like they should have been playing most of the series. And off the back of it is the fact that Pun got a neutralizing pick. Fook 1 probably got the best jungler for his back pocket. Like, Yato is feeling good about his position, was able to do much better early than we've seen previously. And Artemis, while falling to the wayside effectively in the beginning of the game, has not really been put in the dirt all too badly inside of this one, is still very, very effective. The Zeri is starting to ramp up with the Trinity Force and the Titanic Hydra completed, so the team fighting is going to come to fruition as well. So you're feeling good about the position that Cerberus is in for the first time over the course of this series. Even though they are down 1,000 gold, they still have a lot of ways to actually make things happen, and they have a lot of playmaking in the right positions. They've got a lot of veterancy in a team like this, so it's nice to be able to kind of build around Fook 1 like that, because when you've got somebody like Artemis to carry a fight, somebody like Yato to challenge background, somebody like Ron OP for the counter engage, you're able to rely on a lot of them to make really important decisions effectively, especially when they've been in situations like this in playoffs before.
Now, I want to take a moment to really just kind of slow this cast down and take an opportunity to really let the atmosphere of this game sink in, because there is a Baron up, and you talked about the importance of the 5v5 fight. You talked about this Baron being the potential tipping point. What are we really looking for in this upcoming fight, a fight that could potentially determine the game?
So both ADC's positionings have been challenged from both teams consistently over this one. Zuhao is a back pocket to Eddie, and Ron-OP, of course, is the back pocket to Artemis, making both of them a little bit difficult to work with. You've got a lot of counter engage in the Renata. You've got a good amount of counter engage in the Lulu as well. And both teams have significant threats to members of the other team with like dive potential. You've got Vex, you've got Hecarim, and on the other side, you've got the Lee Sin and you've got the Camille. This is actually relatively similar team compositions in that regard. The one thing that Cerberus leads in that regard is actually frontline. I feel like the Hecarim building a lot more tank items, as well as the Renekton being a little bit better in terms of being able to throw in front of members of the team, does make it a little bit easier for them to just sit there and soak damage for a little bit longer. But it also means that Team Secret has more damage, both in side laning, which is the one sacrifice that Cerberus has made, is that they don't really have fantastic side laners to respond against the Rising Camille. But also, if somebody were to break into the background, breach into Artemis, into Yato, a lot more of those defensive resources for the champion have to be burnt just because of how much kill threat there actually is.
And look at how much respect Eddie and Zuhao are giving. They know that Fook 1 is out of vision and searching for flanks, searching for a way to get on top of this bottom lane duo, but unsuccessful so far. All the while, Hero just split pushing in the side lane, trying to force Cerberus to try to answer his push, and then maybe Team Secret could have a window to start up the Baron Nashor.
Yeah, set up right now actually in a good position to ease the wave, because it's slightly in favor of the side of Team Secret, because it's on the other side. Gonna have a little bit more push here if Hero decides to sit here. He's got the TP. He's also able to take a fight against Pun for the most part, because I don't think Pun is done with the Death Stance, so the armor isn't quite there yet. Instead just has the stopwatch potentially to utilize. This is also preventing more resources from going into one lane, which is nice. They're playing on 3 lanes, drives Yato into another position of the map where Yato can't fish with the Shadow Surge alongside Fook 1, which we saw them do, I think, 2-3 times into Eddie in the mid lane, which led to, I think, only the 1 kill against Zuhao, which is a little bit tragic, because you obviously want more from those types of things, but they obviously know that they're capable of doing that. And so right now, Team Secret's playstyle of having the 1-3-1 and splitting them up more, hopefully is preventing that from coming through. Hopefully is buying more time for Eddie to become a really true primary carry inside of this game, where they can respect him. His damage is going to be high enough to rip through Fook 1, through Pun on that front line, before accessing Artemis when they get to the back.
We've spoken about a lot of players so far, but I feel that one player is Fook 1 and goes in with the onslaught of shadows, but it's only a 2-man ult, and Cerberus are forced away almost instantly. Penguin lands a Sonic Wave, goes to Yato, who flashes out to safety as Shurelius has been dropped. Cerberus will back away from the jungle, and this means that Team Secret just turn towards the ocean, and it will be uncontested as well.
Super Mega Death Rocket, it was the only ultimate that was burnt. And again, both Pun's ultimate, which keeps him tanky, and Fook 1's ultimate, which is the primary engage for the side of Cerberus, were burnt prior to the dragon positioning being taken. And it meant that Team Secret was very quick to the punch. They're actually going to do it again. They're going to say, hey, you have no frontline ultimates, which means that you have no way to contest us unless you go very deep with your damage. And it means that we can play a lot more reactive. So we're on the Baron first. You're going to look for a flank angle. We're taking this so fast, though, right now.
Well, it is a Cerberus who go in for the flank. The Baron has already been secured. Fook will fall, but he will be kept alive. He'll die once again. Ron OP is so incredibly low. The Rune Prison dropped down, and Eddie is on the side looking for potentially Ron OP, but Cerberus just get wiped. It's a double kill for Artifact, and in Game 3 of the series, with Cerberus's lines on the ropes, it is Team Secret who take an ace for 1.
It is a situation where Team Secret, they knew there was nothing to be done from Cerberus. They don't have the ultimate to be able to make this work. So they say, okay, let's fight us, right? We will set up in the Baron pit. We will sit here and you will fight into us and we will take that challenge. We will take that fight as soon as you bring it. And that's exactly what happened. Eddie dropped a good amount of damage in the rockets before they had to change kind of priority into the pits, but the rest of the fight was already disastrous. There was nothing for them to accomplish. The Baron buff got ripped through. First off, this was almost unexpectedly fast, I think, from the side of this team. But look at everybody else. Artifact, completely untouched, took the entire brunt of the engagement, took no damage during that time. I thought this was looking good right here, but Hero still had the Guardian Angel. Artifact was still up. Penguin went into Zonius, and all of this was spent so that Eddie could get tested in the backline. Didn't even find the Jinx because he was able to flash over the back of the Baron wall. All of this from Cerberus was supposed to be about the team fight. They have to play around the cooldown of their engagement from Fook 1, from Pun being able to frontline. But when those are down, they don't have the same diving capability. They don't have the same way to set up anything but a front to back for Artemis, who just didn't have the damage to get through all these members, didn't have the positioning to get through all of the damage that was brought out from Team Secret.
We've spoken about a lot of players so far this series, but there is one player that we haven't talked about and I really do want to talk about, and that is Zuhao. Let's not forget, he is a former Cerberus player, and he wasn't a support for Cerberus, he's a jungler. He role swapped into the support role, playing against his former team, and on the brink of being able to take them down in a 3-0.
This is the first full split at support for Zuhao, which is something that we talked about. This was the first full competitive split for Fook 1. Technically, this is the same for Zuhao, where he played a lot inside of Winter and did good. We were singing the praises of Zuhao quite a bit because we were like, okay, he subbed in the middle of the splits and had better performances than we thought. And we were like, okay, maybe this is something to build on. And clearly Team Secret agreed because they kept Eddie and Zuhao and replaced the rest of the team. And now look at them stomping out the Winter champions with their ex-jungler at the support role. And he's been able to do a lot more creative things. That's a nice dive into the backline, though.
Fook 1 has come in from the flank, and Eddie has been fit. He's going to go golden. That's going to give Penguin a chance to go in onto Artemis. But Artemis now flashing forward, looking to get the kill onto Eddie. And he does it, but it doesn't matter. Team Secret somehow still win the fight. Yana in a 1v3 can't make magic happen. And that was a realm orb right into the mid lane. There is going to be nothing that Pun can do about this, as Team Secret will take down the Nexus Towers, and Team Secret will take a clean 3-0 against the Winter Split champions, and they'll face Saigon Buffalo in the Spring Split semi-finals.
That was about as mean a haymaker as I think that Fook 1 could have thrown. I want to give him props beyond belief because he got into backline, almost brought down Eddie in one fell swoop.